Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is the video everybody's been waiting for. I'm going to try to place the polarizer on this LCD screen, hopefully make it look a little better. So, previous videos we've pretty much got everything else working on here. Found a lot of issues with the PC board. Had a lot of problems with this micro cassette drive. Printer's working. If I cut it on, that's not how you cut it on. Right there. See, the screen's just really hard to read. So there's this kind of looks like blue area in the middle here. It was a lot worse before because I pulled it apart and the reflector was actually discolored too. It had that same mark on it, but replaced that with a piece of aluminum tape, which I'm not very happy with, so I'm going to try to come up with something better for that, something a little more reflective and that doesn't scratch as easy because I scratched it up a little bit. But the main thing is getting that blemish off the middle of it. So I'm hoping that if I replace the polarizers, that's what the problem is. I hope the LCD screen's fine. So let's get it apart. Okay, so I got the screen out. If you can see, there's kind of a texture on the reflective tape I put on there, and that's because the reflective aluminum tape's conductive, so I put some blue like painter's tape behind it and then tried to put the aluminum tape over it, and I think it picked up the texture from the painter's tape. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to handle that yet. I think maybe I was thinking about going to the auto parts store and getting one of those mirror adhesive things that you stick on like your rear view mirror whenever it's not a mirror anymore. Well, anyway, hopefully that's like a thin kind of vinyl thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but I was thinking something along those lines. I'm gonna just kind of go and look around and try to find something, but so I've been kind of putting this off because these tabs right here, you have to bend them to take this bezel off here to get to the LCD screen, and I've already taken it off 3 times, I think. Of course, it was bent one time at the manufacturer, and who knows if it's been done again. So I'm afraid these are going to break at some point, and then we're going to have a problem to fix that I'm not really interested in fixing, but hopefully they'll give us one more time before they break. So I'll go ahead and bend those tabs. Okay, so there's the aluminum tape I put on there. It's just hard to get it flat, and also scratched it putting it on. It's just kind of soft and easy to mess up, so hopefully we can find something better for that. Here's the screen, and you can see the kind of blue discoloration there. I'm hoping that's just in the plastic film on the top and the bottom, the polarizing film. So I'll try to get that off. See, it's already bubbled up a little bit around the edge. I tried to kind of lay that back down some in an earlier video, but hopefully that'll make it come off a little easier. Alright, well, that came off. You can see the discoloration is definitely in this. LCD looks fine. I thought there was a polarizer on both sides, so let me look into that. Alright, so here's a piece of the polarizing film that I cut off earlier to experiment with. Here's another piece. You can see if you hold them like that, you can see through it. If you turn it, the light's blocked. And the way I thought an LCD was, is you had a film on both sides. I think some of them are like that. And maybe if it has a backlight, it has to be like that, and if it's reflective, it doesn't. So basically the light would come from the back and go through the polarizing film, so it only allow light that's polarized in one direction to come through, and then of course it would get through the front because the polarizing film's the same orientation, which you can see there the light's getting through. But the LCD, whenever it energizes a cell or a pixel, it twists the light 90 degrees, which would make it get blocked by the second polarizer. But I guess since this is a reflective one, it's kind of never really thought about it before, but I guess the light gets polarized when it comes down, or maybe it blocks it. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't know how that would work with only one polarizer. Let's see. Okay, so it was on the front. So I guess it goes through the LCD screen twice. So like the light would come through. It would only allow, it would block everything except for polarization in one direction. It'd go down, reflect off the back, and then come back and be able to come back through the polarizer because it's the same. But if it went through the LCD, I guess it would twist it, so then when it came back through, it wouldn't be the same. I'm not sure. Never even considered not having a polarizer on the front and the back of an LCD, but I guess that's how it works since I'm seeing it. So anyways, I think I was afraid these were a little dark, but after getting this one off, they're the same thing. So I guess that's right. You can see that one's also working. So I think all we need to do is cut a piece from that sheet I have and put it on there. And then we can put it back together. I need to clean this scoop off. Hopefully with that alcohol pad will get it right off. So let me try that. Well, it's coming off slowly, but I don't really want to try anything more aggressive. So I don't want to mess up any of the whatever these connections are made out of, and getting any kind of harsh chemical on it. So I'm just going to keep rubbing on this until I get it all off. And that wasn't so bad. I think it took about a dozen alcohol pads and about 10 minutes, but I think I got everything off of it. So now I need to cut a new piece of polarizing film. I'm going to try to use one of these things. Not sure if that's going to work, but just so I can get a more accurate cut than I can probably get with scissors. I gotta be honest, this is working out a lot better than I thought. So I'm starting to get worried about those tabs because I'm sure something's got to bite me. Okay, so I need to try to, I probably should have left this longer because I'm going to have to try to stick it on there, but I have to get it perfectly straight. And I got to kind of start from one corner and go over so I don't get air bubbles. Well, I think I'll just try it, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll just peel it off and do it again. I got a squeegee and a microfiber cloth from one of those screen protector kits for your cell phone. And just kind of try to get all the dust off of it. See if I can get the protective back off of this. Maybe I should use 2 pieces of tape. So it's got 2 protective coatings, one's sticky and one's for the sticky side and one's not. So So I don't know if this is the sticky side or not, so we're just going to try to stick it and see if it sticks or not. So I don't want to touch it. There's definitely bubbles in there. Let me see if I can squeegee those out. It looks pretty good. The only real problem I see is it's not sitting flat there because the plastic's a little too big. I think I didn't get it all the way to the bottom over there. So it's bunched up again. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a plastic strip of tape on the top and the bottom. I don't know if you can see it's bubbling up right there. So I'm going to try to get a razor blade and trim that a little bit. I think that was a success. Feel some bubbles in there. I'm going to work on that a little bit more and we'll stick it back together and see if it works. Alright, well that's about as good as I'm going to get it. It looks pretty good. I don't know if you can see there's a few little spots. I don't know if that was contamination where I didn't get all the adhesive off or something, but hoping it won't show up. I mean, it definitely looks 100 times better than it did before. So let's get these little zebra strips under here and just kind of press down on it, get it back in the computer and see if it works. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm just going to take the screen out, or this plastic cover for the screen, and get the LCD screen, and instead of mounting it on this side, I'll stick it back here, and that way we can close the computer up and see the screen on the outside. Alright, so I need to clean these zebra strips really good. I found last time it doesn't work if they're not clean. So I know it's like a little bubble of glue or epoxy or something on this corner right here, and that goes to the top left. That's how I remember to orient it, because it didn't work unless it was oriented that way. So we'll stick it down there and apply some pressure. We won't be able to get the screen to work very well just pressing down on it without this thing, but I'm not going to put this on there until I figure out something better about the reflector. I just want to make sure that the screen is working. Alright, so it's pretty difficult to line this up because the little rubber strips get kind of sticky once the alcohol I used to clean it kind of dries up. If you kind of get them started and just push them around the edge. Then we have to get it lined up. Just try to center it on the gold pins. I know you can't see, but just try to put it where it looks like it's supposed to go. Somewhere around there. I know I don't have them strip centered, they're hanging off the side over here, but just get enough so we can see if anything works. Well, I'll tell you, I can see stuff on there, but it is really dim. See, there's a knob over here for darkness. Let me play around with moving it around, trying to position a little bit, and I'll bring you back. Alright, well, I can kind of see the words. They're kind of inverted. Pretty sure I got the polarizer oriented wrong. So I thought I had it right because I was going like this and then rotating it, and that was it's blocking light and that's letting it through. But the thing is that the sticky stuff goes down. It's actually blocked like that, and it lets it through that way. So I don't think I have this oriented correctly. So I'm going to have to peel that off and cut another one. So I'll spare you the second one, but I'll come back when I get that fixed. So I found the easy way to see. I peeled this off, and luckily it didn't leave any sticky stuff behind it. So this is the one that originally came on it. If I hold it there, you kind of see this line across here. I don't know how well it's showing up in the camera, but it's really clear. That's what it should look like when it's on. If I cut this on, you see it doesn't really show up, and there's this weird like rainbow kind of effect. But if I rotate it right there, the line shows up really good. So I have to cut the plastic at kind of a weird angle to make it work. But it does seem like that's the problem. So let's see if we put it like that. Let's see if we can find a spot and make the screen work. Oh wow, that looks really good. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Well, cool, that's going to look really good when we get that figured out. Okay, well let me figure out how to transfer this angle to this sheet so that I can cut the thing out with the right orientation. Okay, I think I got it now. I'm going to do this again. I left it a little longer this time so I can actually grab it. Help me line it up a little bit. Just probably wipe it off again real quick. Alright. I think I'm going to have to cut you guys off so I can get over the top of it. You've already seen it once anyway, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, got it on there, cut the ends off. See if I get the protective film off. I didn't take that off last time. Hopefully that's not the reason it wasn't working. The film does kind of affect the polarization, because when I had the brand new sheets I almost thought that I got scammed, because when I was holding the sheets up beside each other and turning them I wasn't seeing the polarization effect until I pulled one of the plastic films off of one side. But yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, let's hold it back in there. I'm thinking it's going to work this time. At least I hope so. At least it comes off easy now, and I got 3 sheets of that stuff, so. Alright, that should be close enough to get something on the screen. No, believe it, it is doing the same thing. Something about that protective film, I think, is making it where it looks like it's working and it's not. Well, I guess I'll try to figure out a better way to tell which way to orient it. Okay, so I cut away, I don't know if you can see like the last ½ inch of that. I cut away the film on both sides, the protective film. This is the sticky side, so that goes down. It's like right there. That's where it's the darkest. So that's the angle we need to cut it. Right along there. Then we'll cut a piece out of here. Going to end up with using a whole sheet on this thing. Alright, well I'm going to do that and go through the whole process, and hopefully this time it'll look right. Alright, I got me a really long strip this time, and it's got a piece of that I cut off, so I know that this is the sticky side. So I'll show you where I was having the problem. So over here where the protective stuff's cut off, you can see it's really clear. But when you go into where the film is, see it barely shows up. But if I rotate it right there, it's really clear. So this protective film throws it off somehow. So anyway, I think we have the angle right now. Looks like that's going to work. Yep, looks good. Alright, so I'm going to put that on there. And then I think hopefully this will be the last time. Alright, it's finally back together. And just setting it on here, you can already see those lines I was talking about before along here. So that's showing up really good, and the screen's really clear. It just doesn't have that rainbow kind of effect. Yeah, that looks really good. Wow. That's awesome. Hope it looks good in the camera. It looks awesome in person. Okay, so that's as far as I can go right now, because the next step is to come up with something to replace this aluminum reflector, and I don't have anything, and it is late at night, so I think I'm going to have to work on that tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. Look how good the aluminum foil looks back there. See my little bubbles. The bubbles aren't there, it's just that when I squish them out, it leaves like a little halo around it. I don't know if it, I'm not sure, but it's just that you can't get the backing off without crumbling it up. Like as you do it, it makes it wavy and crumbly. And I can't put it straight onto there anyway because it's conductive, and that's got a lot of exposed traces there. But anyways, I'll try to find something a little better tomorrow. See you then. About this, at the auto parts store, O'Reilly's, it was $14 after tax, and I think it might be a little thicker than I was thinking it would be. But let's get it open. I just need to make sure that there's enough of a gap between the LCD screen and the PC board so we can press down on the little rubber strips. But there's a pretty good gap there, so let's get this open. You're supposed to be able to cut it with scissors, I guess, so just cut a strip and I guess glue it down, and yeah, that should be a pretty good mirror. Alright, so I got plenty of mirror stuff here, so I'm just gonna cut a little test piece off. Now we can see if we can slide this under there. Try to get these rubber strips on there. Alright, so that's the gap we have. It does not fit, so that is too thick. Alright, well that plan's not going to work. Alright, so you know how I was using like some lines that are made into the LCD screen to kind of tell whenever it was polarized right, even when it didn't have power on it? So if I hold it on this aluminum tape, you can kind of see those lines, but I don't know if you can see if I rotate it. So right there you can see the lines really clearly, plus you can see kind of the reflection in the back where it's reflecting off the foil. But if I go right over it, you can kind of see through the middle of it. So I was a bit confused by the lamination only being on one side, so I kind of looked on the internet, you know, just googled how many polarizers do you need on the LCD screen. Of course everything says 2, you gotta have one on the front and the back. But I found a Reddit forum where somebody was talking about an old Game Boy and how it got away with just using one polarizer by having a special one on the front that's a combination of a polarizer and like a quarter wavelength filter. And I'm guessing maybe that's what this had, and therefore it's not, I don't think it's going to work right like it is. So I could maybe try to find the correct polarizer, which is pretty limited, which you can get on eBay. But I think what I'm going to do is just put one on the back, because look how much it blocks the light there. I mean, that looks awesome. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. And then the second issue I was having was with the aluminum foil, which I think works really good. I think it's a good reflective surface for this. But when I try to peel it off the backing, it just crumbles up. So what I think I'm going to do is cut it and leave the backing on it and use double-sided tape just to glue it down, so I don't have to mess up the tape when I stick it down there. And I think that's going to get us as close as we're going to get with what we have here. So yep, that's the plan. Alright, so I got one of the remaining pieces. I pulled the protective plastic off the end. I can tell this is the sticky side, so I called this side the top so I'd be able to keep track of it. So sticky side's down. So here's the screen. This is the side we put the lamination on. So we need to stick one on the back, which means this needs to be upside down like that. And you can see how that film, that protective film on there really affects how the light goes through it. So see, that's pretty much completely blocking it. So somewhere, looks like right there is like the angle we need. Just like that. You can see around the edges where it's really dark. It's good contrast. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this across that line and then cut it to size for this. Hopefully that'll fit on there, and stick it on the back. Okay, so that's more how I expected it to work. So you can see clearly now it's got that black border around it. It's super dark. It's a lot of contrast. If we put this behind it, slightly tinted, I think that's going to look really good. Alright, let's work on this now. So I cut the aluminum tape out with the paper cutter, and just to try to keep it straight and bend it as minimal as possible, put some two-sided tape under it, and of course you can see the two-sided tape where it overlapped, and a little bump there and a scratch. It's impossible to not make any marks on it, but it's significantly better than it was last time I did it. So there's the screen over it. I think it looks good. Alright, well, I'm not going to make you watch me fuss with trying to put this thing back together because it's annoying. You have to make sure everything's perfectly clean, put the strips in there. You just have to keep adjusting it till it looks like it's right. Then manage to get the bezel over it and keep adjusting it while you clamp it down and all. So I'll try to get all that done and then I'll bring it back and see what it looks like. Alright, got it back together and I think it's working perfect. Let me get you zoomed in. Check this out. Hope it shows up good on the camera. If I darken it, it looks like all the pixels are lighting up. There's a couple of extra ones here on the bottom. I saw that before too. I don't know exactly what that is. It's like some kind of bleed over, or maybe it's just the reflection off the, I don't know, you can't see it in the camera. You have to get an angle. Let me see if I can get the camera where you can see. So you see how like under the W, under the K, and under the S, there's like an extra pixel on the bottom row where there's not pixels. So I'm not really sure what that is. Might just be reflecting the last row of pixels off the full on the back. But it looks really good. The problems in the tin foil barely, or the aluminum barely show up. I'm very happy with that. If I'd got it like that, I would have thought it was factory. I think I wouldn't have even second guessed it. But yeah, that didn't quite go as planned, but it did end up making it work out for us, and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna put it back together really quick so we can see it all back together. We are back together and finally have a nice screen on this thing, which is the last thing that I wanted to get done on here. It is, as far as I know, fully restored and working, fully functional. The LCD, I guess I learned a few things. One, I kind of figured if you had an LCD screen that as long as you put your polarizer on the front and the back, it didn't really matter what orientation you put them as long as they matched. But I mean, when I only had one polarizer on there, it definitely mattered which way I rotated it. So the LCD itself seems to have some type of polarization built into it. I mean, I guess that might be obvious if you know more than me about LCDs, but I kind of figured it was just a layer of liquid in the middle, and just when you ran a current through it, it twisted the light 90 degrees. But I guess there's a little more to that. If you find out that there's only one polarizer, you probably need to do a little research if you're not going to convert it to two like I did, and make sure you get the right thing. I think it's called a circular polarizer, but it's definitely wasn't quite working right, so I'm glad we added that second polarizer on there. Yeah, so if you saw anything, if you'd like to, you know, share some knowledge on LCD screens, I didn't dig very deep in it, but with just a quick search, it seems most of the information is just on kind of a standard computer monitor, and this wasn't quite the same thing. But so I think that now that we have two polarizers, if I wanted to, I could maybe shine some LEDs under the LCD screen and add a little backlight to it. That would be kind of neat. But yeah, so I think this concludes kind of the restoration of the EPSON HX-20. I'm gonna go out to the shop and work on the Firebird some more. So look forward to some Firebird videos next week. And thanks for watching, guys.